And Madison Reedy is here for business. How are you?
I'm good, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, very well. The Mainzeal judgment, we've had an update on that just today, right?
We have today. So the former Prime Minister, Dame Jenny Shipley, who, as we know, was a director of Mainzeal Construction, she's lost her first sort of appeal on costs. So her and the other Mainzeal directors, being Clive Tilby and Peter Gom, they were obviously found liable for Mainzeal's collapse and for breaching their duties as directors by the High Court in Auckland back in February this year. Now, because of that, the court ordered them to pay damages of $6 million each within the total $36 million that the director, Richard Yam, was also found liable for. Now, the original judgment from the High Court by Justice Francis Cook back then, it sort of left the door open for both sides to request alterations to the costs that he ordered. So obviously both sides, the plaintiffs and the defendants, took that opportunity, as one would expect. The liquidators, who were the plaintiffs who brought this case, they, as one would have guessed, wanted the costs to be larger. They wanted more. They were disappointed that the judge didn't add interest to the costs that he awarded, and they wanted that because creditors have been waiting since 2013 to see any money from Mainzeal's collapse. So they wanted that included. It wasn't. And off the back of that, the directors, being Dame Jenny Shipley and co., they obviously wanted to pay less. They said that the costs were exaggerated by the High Court in their judgment, and that it didn't take into account the money that liquidators would recover from selling assets that Mainzeal still own within the liquidation process, as typically happens. So Justice Cook held a hearing for this in May, and his decision on that was released earlier today. Now, he did say, interestingly, that both sides raised some pretty legitimate points, and he admits that from reading their points that he did make some errors, but despite that, he declined both their appeals and alterations to costs and stuck with his initial ruling. Now, the reason he did that, he says, is because the two requests pretty much cancel each other out. The increase that the liquidators wanted was pretty much the same size as the reduction that the defendants wanted. So he says that if he made both adjustments, the total costs that he would have awarded, that $36 million, would have been the same, so he didn't bother. We should note, though, that this is not the big appeal of the Mainzeal case.
Right.
Dame Jenny Shipley and co.'s appeal of the entire High Court ruling is still yet to be heard in the Court of Appeal. A date for that's yet to be set. And remember, the liquidators have filed a cross appeal there to double the size of the costs that they've been awarded to pay.
Right, certainly not the end of the road on that.
No, certainly not. More to come.
Right. Our meat exports are booming. Why is that?
That's because of trade deals, mostly. So the Meat Industry Association came out today and they said that exports of sheep, beef and other meat products grew 8% in the year to June. It was worth $8.8 billion. Who would have thought? The value of them, of our meat exports, is also up pretty substantially too. So we're not just sending more overseas, the world is paying a bit more for our meat, which is nice. Beef had a 13% increase in value. That was the biggest increase there. Lamb and mutton sheep meat products had a 6% increase. And China is our biggest market for most of our primary products, as we know. And they've actually overtaken the United States as our biggest importer of our beef products.
This on the back of the swine flu epidemic, or is there more?
No, it's actually not. These figures came out would have been adjusted prior to that taking effect, but more recent figures that are kind of on a monthly basis, we have seen a bit of a toll being taken there. But this has actually been of benefit to Japan. So Japan is actually catching up as one of our big meat importers, and that's because of this CPTPP trade deal. The mouthful of that one is a long official term. I'm sure you can Google it if you care. And exports.
Comprehensive is a word in there, I think.
Yeah, I can read it out if you like. Comprehensive and progressive agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And our meat exports to Japan have grown 29% in the period.
Wow, very good. How are the markets looking today, Nate?
The NZX Top 50 Index rose 0.4% to start the week. That's a rise of 44 points to close at 10,851 points. The New Zealand dollar, that's buying at 66.3 US cents, just under 96 to the Aussie, and 53.6 British pence.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. Madison Reedy there with the latest in the business world.